But here we are on Monday afternoon, and we're enriched by the presence of Pat McGart.
Afternoon, Dr. Collins.
But Pat is out. How are you, Pat?
Grand. Well, it's not the blistering hot weather of recent days, but jeepers, Jude is still, as my mother would call it, very close.
It's close, all right, but it's not that close. I went for a walk now, and it was much more like an ordinary day, whereas other times when I went for a walk, it was over the last fortnight. It was really hot.
Now, Jude, there was a friend of the family called last night. In fact, one of the first people we've had calling about a long time. We sat outside, and he said he was seriously looking forward to getting back to normal weather.
I know.
He says another week of this will kill me.
This is the thing, you see, people start complaining about it, and then next thing you know, we're back. I have to tell you, my mood dipped this morning when I got up. I felt just a bit grey skies. Just the sight of them now. It wasn't that it was cold or anything. I swear my mood dipped, and I began to hate mankind and humanity and the earth and everything.
And just because it was a grey sky.
With the exception of you, Pat.
Good man, Collins.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
We're going to go, first of all, to GB News, which I'm sure you've been watching.
I have. I've never watched it.
I haven't, I have to confess. I just couldn't find it on my Sky program. But anyway, platform. But Arlene Foster has joined, they say. And it isn't very clear in what that means, has joined GB News. And the assumption was she'd have a spot of her own, a slot, where she would interview people and so on. I'm not sure, but I gather the idea she has in mind is to inform the rest of the UK about what most people would call NI, but I would call NEI, Northeastern Ireland. What do you think, Pat? Was that a smart move? Was that? I mean,
well, Jude, put it against. The first time I realized, remember, wasn't there a famous president of America, one of the famous female writers said, "How do you know he's dead?" Because it never had much of a personality. The only time I saw Arlene animated or alive was the day she was leaving at that do up in Fermanagh, where she started to sing "That's Life." Now, Jude, I don't know what sort of background Arlene has as a presenter, but GB News is, I think, a cheap attempt at Fox News for Britain.
Yeah.
And I think every wingnut that I can think of, they're trying to get them on board. And Andrew Needle, who used to be the ultimate Thatcherite, he's on there, and I think they're looking
he's
for.
Left.
Has he left? He's left already.
Aye, he's left. But that's the bad news. The good news is that Mr. Brexit himself is replacing him, and I'm trying desperately to remember what's his name. Little Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage. Yeah.
Now he's now the public face of GB News. In the absence of.
So, Jude, someone. I think it's already a sinking ship, and some. I'm loath to use the term. Some of the rats might already be deserting it, but but you know the point I'm trying to make. Go ahead.
I would have thought, Pat. I would have thought there was a market for that. You see, most of us, if you look, most of us go to the online. We go to places where we know we'll find discussion that'll echo our own thoughts, perhaps, at least to some degree. And I think Fox News was smart in that. They tapped.
But hold on, Jude. Nearly 300 million people in America. And all you need is a small percentage of that to have an extremely profitable organization. If you get 10% of the potential audience out there as a cable channel, and I think they get someone maybe like 7 or 8%. Fox News is one of the most watched, but they're boasting about getting 3 and 4 million people. Well, there's nearly 300 million people, isn't there, in America? So you don't need a massive audience at a cable station to make millions. Sure, what is it? What do you call him? Murdoch, didn't he claim there's something like they have 12 billion in cash in the bank, and most of that comes from Fox News? Like they were minting that from big advertising. Now they've lost some of that in recent times. But Jude, is there a climate in Britain for that? Like when you get Dominic Cummings on the other night saying he couldn't say whether Brexit is a success, will be a success, and he claims anybody who says they know it will be, he says They can't possibly not. So people in Britain have taken a punt on the basis of save 350 million a week and all that sort of stuff, and it's all basically a load of crap.
Yeah, but the question is not whether or not Brexit has succeeded. The question is, will GB News succeed? Will they get enough viewers?
But hey, but Jude, these are the people who are they're almost the same people are involved in GB News as were involved in Brexit.
There was a lot of them. There was a lot of them, you know.
Yeah.
Like
But Jude, they pandered to the lowest elements in the sense that it was driven by racism.
I agree.
And there was, let us bring back control and keep those Johnny foreigners out. And by the way, Johnny foreigners included people of similar skin color as well. And the French, the frogs, and the Crouch, and it just wasn't people of darker hue. There was a lot of racism involved in that.
What do you mean? You go into any number of pubs in England on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and you get guys that'll be talking that way, again and again, and their friends will be agreeing with them and nodding around the table. There's a market there for that kind of thing. I'm just surprised the GB has made such a screw up of it that they're not being successful. It looks like they're
Jude, but remember the famous Bojo's one? It's a Navan ready deal. But Jude, what is it? It's 4 years on plus, and the deal still isn't done. And Britain's trade balances aren't looking that good. The trade deal, they were going to do massive trade deals with everyone and so on. There are not too many of them have come on board. And there was one last point. There was a thing posted on social media the other day about a whole crowd waiting at Schiphol Airport in Holland, and they said, "This is not the Brexit we signed up for." In other words, they thought they were going to keep all their privileges.
I agree with every word you said, Pat. The only thing is, when they do polls, they find that the people who voted for Brexit, they're nearly the same numbers as they were before, maybe more even. So I don't think that the population that think that way, maybe they've been duped, but they would feed into their worldview or their country's view, and they would say, let's get somebody who will do it or who will make Britain great again or whatever. I'm just saying there's a lot of straight talking people, the kind of tough talking guys who are fed up with all of the flim flam and and if they could find a voice on UK News, they would be delighted, I would say. I
think Trump got found out as a clown. I think Boris, Dominic Cummings, whether you believe him or disbelieve him, has almost destroyed whatever little bit of credibility or Bojo has left. There was the ethics guy there who came out with a book quite recently, said that he really questioned whether Boris Johnson believed in the rule of law, much less the law itself. So Jude, I think the cumulative, I keep using that term, but the cumulative effect of all that, and by the way, the Brexit hasn't been the roaring success that the Brexiteers were claiming it was going to be. It's been, and I think, I know the famous one, as you crawl off more and more people, I think it's at that thing starting at home now. Might take another 4 or 5 years, Jude, but the great adventure or experiment that was let's go for Brexit, I don't think it's quite proven the success story, the fairy tale that they said it was going to be.
It'll be interesting to see. I just heard yesterday that Price Cooper Waterhouse are opening a big new centre in the middle of Belfast on Donegal Place or Donegal, whatever. So I was asking somebody, are they not opening south of the border? And they said no. They seem to have confidence in. Well, of course, maybe they have their ideas that if they're in the north, and the north being in an ambiguous position. That's not the claim that you can have the best of both worlds if you're in Northern Ireland. In actual fact, that if they were really smart, they would go for it and sell it as a positive rather than bash it as a negative. Well, maybe that's what they're thinking of, but they're going to be hiring about 2,000 people.
But Jude, if they're in Belfast, they can go east-west and they can go, and go onto the continent if they want. Not a bother.
That's a good point. Good point. As far as I know, but we started off actually talking about Arlene Foster, and her mission, I think, was to bring Northern Ireland to the UK and to the spotlight that the UK would be interested. The fact of the matter is, the UK really doesn't want to know, and you talk about talk to English people time and again, they'll tell you, you know, the minute anything about the North, was true during the Troubles as well. And mention Belfast, mention Derry, mention anywhere in the North, and they just reach for their
but Jude, here's a point, and it's my brother-in-law, and he's one of the least sort of opinion people I know. He lived for about 40 plus years in England, and he says, Pat, you know, he says one thing he said, I'd love to tell unionists, see when they come over here, he says, to the average English person, they don't give a monkeys whether they're, you know, Catholic and nationalists or Protestant and unionists. You're just another paddy to them. And he said, that's the reality of it. And he says, you know, and there's the same, and they look down there, some of them, not all of them, that's a generalization, but a lot of them look down their noses because they regard you as some sort of, we had the empire and you're part of our subjects. But anyway, that's, you know, there's an element of truth in that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that the idea was a good one for this GB News. But I think bringing Arlene
Dr. Collins, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a left-wing unionist? Every unionist I know is there's Arlene joining the ultra right-wing GB News. That's the market it's aimed at, and she's one of those. Yeah. Is there such a thing as a left-wing unionist?
Well, I think guys like Billy Hutchinson and David, what's his name, Irvine, that they tried to sort of bring an element of sort of working class unionism in, and they certainly were very critical of Paisley, and they actually heckled him one time when he was being interviewed on TV live. So there was that effort, but I think that has died and perished. There is a very strong tradition within rural unionism anyway, whatever about cities now. Rural unionism is very fond of the big house. They like the big gentleman that was always around. So to some extent, I think that's still obtaining, so that they tend to, there's a certain doffing of the cap to very smart men who were captains in the British Army, like Captain Terence O'Neill
and whatever,
you know, different things like that. So I have a feeling that's part of it. But you're right. There isn't such a thing as a left wing, and maybe that ties into Brexit too. Maybe because of the right wing, they voted for Brexit, which was very bad.
Did look how many unionist leaders have been in the British Army.
Yeah,
you know, and some of them very like even Doug Beattie was in the British Army, wasn't he? Or is former?
You see the three tours in Iraq. And he's very proud of them, and he tells in detail about killings that happened, and he doesn't gloat over them, but he tells them in vivid detail. Of course, there are lots of them were in the army, and they are right wing. It's very hard to think any other way, I think, because that's.
Well, Jude, hold on. If you join the British Army and you know you are not a left-leaning person, that's for certain.
No, I think you're somebody who wants. Well, if you join in the army, you're somebody
who
wants
not
to be given orders and execute them. So anyway, I wouldn't be too hard on them. But I do think Arlene is not the most magnetic, charismatic, charming figure that will ever have hit GB News. I'm sorry to say it, but I suspect that it mightn't be a success. Actually, I don't know if you've ever talked to Arlene. I talked to her once briefly. I found her very nice. No, twice. I interviewed her once, which is before she began.
Several people I know, journalist friends, have told me that on privately she's very nice, very down there. Comes across as a lot more moderate and private.
None of that snarl that you get.
But you know, I think it's nearly a prerequisite to be leader of the DUP that you have to, come across that sort of, like the crocodile remark was unforgivable in a way.
That was sort of classic, maybe.
But that's what I mean.
For me, Nigel Dodd's always epitomised that image of the unattractive.
The little snarling face all the time.
But the funny thing about him is he went to Cambridge or somewhere.
Yeah, very bright guy.
Very bright guy. How does he succeed in burying it underneath this aggressive, desperate. Anyway, we've wandered far from Arlene Foster. She's joining GB News. We wish her all the best. I don't think she's got a hope in hell of being successful, and I don't think GB News is going to succeed either, which is a pity. No. Okay, let's go on. Leave a dreary north, leave even dreary England, and let's go down to Cork.
Yeah.
Cork is the second city, and as the Cork ones will tell you, it's the real capital
Well,
and I have to say, I like Cork people a lot.
So
And I was very sorry to see them lose yesterday. They did
yeah,
very
against
well in
Kerry.
the first 15
Yeah.
minutes, and then
Yeah.
the usual Kerry.
Which is the usual, yeah. They do great for 15 minutes and then bang, that's it.
Fell apart. But there's going to be a counterbalance set in here. They're aware of the fact, the central government is aware of the fact that there's a great imbalance between the bloated Dublin and the sort of starved Cork, although Cork's the second city. So they're going to be putting 1.8 billion euro into Cork from central government, and I suppose there'll be local government putting in money. Their aim is, well, they don't even say it's an aim. They say they're going to have 20,000 homes built and 31,000 jobs. And they figure that they're going to do those in the coming years. Now, they do mention that they expect to see a 50% increase in the population of Cork by 2040.
Yeah.
My God, that's ambitious, isn't it?
Jude, at one stage, I think about 2011, 12, people can forgive me. They reckon there were something like 220,000 immigrants, Polish, Latvians, Ukrainians, but mainly Poles, as far as I remember. 220,000. They say there's 32 counties in Ireland. I would reckon that makes it 33, because the average population would be around, about 200,000, 150, 200,000. So there's another population. We'll call it Poland County. All right, Jude. I grew up in a wee town, and we've mentioned this frequently. I grew up in when I was a young fella, Letterkenny, you could have had your dinner on the main street because it was so quiet. It was a wee market town and all the rest. You'd go there today. I walk down the street now, and there's a multicolored number of faces. What used to be monoculture, it's now multicultural. There's Polish restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Korean restaurants where you can buy food for all the. It's changed beyond number.
Okay, that's the ad for Letterkenny. Now, get Cork.
No, but what I'm saying is Ireland has changed. Jude, it's the same as happening all over the place. So I think Cork, I've been in Cork. It's a beautiful city, and the people down there are lovely. They really are very, very friendly. And if you even ask them somebody the direction, you better be prepared to be on your holidays, because they'll chat to you for 10, 15 minutes and so on. And I think Cork, Jude, Cork is a big city even now. And by the way, you said someone was denied. Cork hasn't been denied very much. Jack Lynch, when he was Taoiseach, diverted just about everything that wasn't nailed down to Cork. There's a big pharma is down there. Is it Hobbelin or whatever they call it? I don't know how you pronounce that. Big naval yard down there. The motorways in and out of Cork are on a par with anything on the best of any big city in Europe. So, Jude, they weren't denied a whole lot.
Well, now, if you compare them, Pat, with Dublin, Dublin is a big fat man, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cork, at best, is a man that's, got a reasonable amount of.
But come on, Dr. Collins, that's not to do it. The Dublin, that's ancient history. That's where one of the reasons big cities always grow in east. That's where the sun rises. Dublin is the place where most of the invaders came in and stayed. Cork's the way down south, and it's not. The chances of history.
But you talk to the odd Cork man, and he will tell you that Cork has been deprived at the expense of Dublin. They really have a resentment about that. I suspect this is me hallmark.
Hey, Dr. Collins, know something. You drive along some of the what would you say, the Malone roads of Cork, the sort of the rich part of and it's old money, very old money. They've had the tea merchants and whatever were down in Cork. And Jude, that wasn't there. These are not Johnny come latelys in terms of big houses. These are houses that were built
overall. Come on, overall, you would say that Cork's a less prosperous, buzzing city than is Dublin. The point is, they say they're going to put all this stuff in. One of the things that caught my eye is they say they're going to work at trying to make it a 15-minute city. You're familiar with that idea? I think that's a really interesting idea. Where no matter where you are in the city, 15 minutes will take you to everything that you really want, in terms of your food,
that's a good idea.
Entertainment and pubs and walks and parks and everything.
We were in Basel and Switzerland years ago, and it's a reasonable sized city. You could get around it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There was very little traffic on it because there was a great public. I remember the certain person we both know said to me, right, Pat, the outer ring train service or tram service comes every 13 minutes. The inner ring one comes every 7 minutes. And Jude, literally on the second, do the second. That's it. And you could go into the town, and Jude, I remember walking up big thoroughfares and not a car to be seen, you know, and it was easy to get around. And the minute you were finished, you just hopped on it and went back again to where. Now, go through Dublin, Jude, you lose the will to live.
That's right. Although they are working now, to be fair to them, there's not nearly as many cars in the centre of Dublin now as there were. Now there's plenty of Lewis, and I suppose some buses, and it's, you know, at times it can get you down a bit, but compared to what it was, say 20 years ago, and certainly when I was there living there, it was it's much more aware of the need. Like, I remember Grafton Street as being a street that people could drive down.
Yeah,
and that idea seems laughable now.
So
they are moving to pedestrianize the city, but they have a long way to go. I think the interesting thing about Cork is that they're saying, we're going to renovate the city, we're going to build the city, expand it, have a good transport system, and we're going to do this consciously with the idea of making it a pedestrian living city.
1/3 of the population of Ireland lives in and around Dublin. That's not a ridiculous thing. Talk about unbalanced, you know. And then they were supposed to be under the EU, supposed to be balanced regional development. Never happened. Everything, you know, every day you'd hear Microsoft have announced 1,200 new jobs in North County Dublin. Something happened in Rush. Something happened, you know, Randlass. Something happened, you know, in Ballsbridge. Nothing ever came here.
Do you think, Pat? Do you think that this talk about 20,000 new homes to be built in Cork City and its suburbs, along with 31,000 new jobs over the next, 15, 20 years, do you think that's going to actually happen? Or you think
I really do. I go to Galway. I remember being in Galway about 40 years ago. It was just a small town. Jesus, Jude, go there now, and there's about 5 or 6 big American high-tech companies there. There's all sorts of development. You walk down the street, and Jude, there, I think it's now, is it 20, 25,000 or maybe 30,000 students at the university there. And the culture life of the place is unbelievable. Jude, I don't know whether it's true. Back to the one I'm going to go around to now, and just going back to my hometown, Letterkenny again. What has happened there, Jude? It's gone from about 5,000 to about 40,000 in my lifetime.
Well, I suppose, you know, that's certainly true. A lot of places that were very small places are expanding. Small towns become quite large. But might it not be just a political move on the part of Micheál Martin?
Well, you have to remember that Taoiseach is from Cork.
Exactly. And he's promising something that he will never be in a position to be blamed when it hasn't come. Like, say, 2040, he'll be out of politics by then. He mightn't be alive then even. So
do you not believe the old Greek proverb about them? It's a wise man who plants a tree under which he will never sit.
I hadn't heard that one, but it's a good one. No, that maybe has been too cynical. Anyway, let's put it like this: it's a good plan, and let's hope that it flourishes. It's nice to see people working at trying to make a city that would be.
Dr. Collins, here's a question for you: do you think high-tech technology has helped regional development?
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier on. If what people tell us is true, then it'll help enormously, because people wouldn't need to live close in the suburbs or whatever and then drive in or even get buses in. People can live anywhere they want to, and then if they occasionally are going to meet up with the company, go in one day a week or whatever. That's if that happens. And I don't know why the hell it wouldn't happen, because even before the pandemic, I used to think, why are people... I said, for example, in New York, I said to Niall O'Dowd, who runs the Irish Echo, I think it is.
Yeah.
I was doing an interview with him, and off record, I was saying, you're in Manhattan here with your office. I said, that must be pretty expensive. And he says, well, you know, this isn't the best area of Manhattan. And I said, but I mean, what's the point? Like, could you not have somewhere way out and you get it much cheaper and people could get to you easier, they could drive and so on. And he said, yeah, but there's the prestige of being at the center of things. So it's actually a bit of an illusion that you get downtown addresses, or, you know, somewhere in London where you sound as if you're very important because you're in a sort of a swift area.
But Jude, one of our viewers, one of our regular viewers, he's a relative and he lives in Glasgow.
Of course,
as far as I know,
the other one's my relative.
Hi, doing, Damien? But anyway, he's, as far as I know, he has been told that he will be working from home permanently. Now, my son, youngest guy, as far as I know, has been working from home for basically a year. I don't think he's been anywhere near a head office. So that is the reality. So, Jude, why shouldn't people now? One of the big things in the past, Jude, all services were located in and around Dublin. All, the infrastructure and all the things you needed for a modern day. Jude, broadband, like 2 or 3 years ago, in fact, make it a year ago, me and you would have had real trouble because our broadband was crap. Now our broadband here in a wee village in North Donegal is absolutely excellent.
Well, you see, there's mixed feelings people have on this question of working from home. Clearly, I'm thinking of my sons now. Clearly, you're saved the commute, which is, in most cases is at least an hour, and it might be even anything up to 3 hours, and sometimes more than that. So that's a great saving of time that otherwise would be to a degree wasted. But a lot of younger people particularly, they really miss the buzz of getting in and talking to their friends and so on who work with them. And the idea of working at home solely, even though predominantly, even say 4 days a week, for them, that's a pretty dim and dull sort of prospect. So it's a question of who's going to win this. Is there going to be a real move to distance working, or is it just the odd person will be doing this?
Yeah, but I think there's another. Sorry,
I mentioned Price Waterhouse earlier on, right? And I said that a place right in the centre of Belfast. Yeah. They have all sorts of things there as well. They have a gym there. They have place where you can get a pedicure. All the sort of what would you call it? The extras you associate with leisure have been built into this workplace. So maybe workplaces are going to change in the never. The other thing is, I think I have a notion there's a law that says, or if there isn't, they're thinking about it, a law that says you can't force your worker to come in if they're able to do their job from a distance.
Jude, no, but you said something that's a story that we thought. One of the things that I think is a problem, because I do, and it's from personal experience, because one day I went up about 6:30, and I know I shouldn't really say this, but if my son had been working in the office at 5:30, everybody had been out, close to the work and out. He was still working from home. When I said to him, he said, "No, Dad, I just wanted to get that finished." No, if he was in an office, whether he's finished or not, it had been out. So, like, putting down the computer when you're at home is a much more difficult thing. I'll just wait, or maybe someone's bugging you at 8 o'clock in the evening when the kids go down. I'll go back to do that. And that's one thing I think that is seriously dangerous.
Yes, you're absolutely funny. When I was talking about this, when I was told about this Price Cooper Waterhouse, an example was given to me of somebody who was complaining that their husband, on their holidays, for God's sake, he was, onto the computer and I just want to check this or send an email. And it is a kind of an infectious thing, especially if you're sort of immersed in your job.
Yeah.
If you're a job where you just can't stand the bloody thing and you clock out, great. Then if you're working from home, you'll clock out at 5 o'clock. But if you've got an interest in your work and you wanted to do it well, and you'd really like to make sure that the business prospers, you'll be on till all hours. That's a problem.
I'll finish up on this, but when I was out of the journal, I remember we went in Spain and we arrived on a Friday evening. On a Monday morning, I got about 4 or 5 phone calls, one after the other. And my dear wife said, "Pat, give me that phone." She said, "I didn't come here for you to start just doing your job again." And she was dead right.
Yeah, there is a part I sympathize. My wife said when she heard that, she says, "Your Jude is the same." I'm not good at switching off.
Neither am I. No.
And in one way, I take it as a testimony to the interest I take in my job, or used to take in my job. On the other hand, I'd fault myself seriously for being part of it. And as I sometimes say to people, I have reached the eminence I have. People say, "How did you do so well in life?" And I say, I did so well in life by ignoring my family. That's neglect your family.
I would, Jude, remember the old one, work to live, not live to work.
That's right. Okay. Well, this is an example of people switching off from their jobs and just getting together and having a good time. And this story, I've titled it Castle Derg's Got Talent, but that wasn't.
Yeah, Jude, I haven't seen this.
It wasn't called it, but that wasn't the heading. No, that was my heading. Yeah. What happened was on the 12th of July, we're only hearing about this now. On the 12th of July, some people were celebrating. Well, clearly, they were celebrating the Battle of the Boyne in Castle Derg, which is many people who are unionists live in Castle Derg or in those areas. Many people who are nationalists live there. My own father was from that part of the country. Anyway, on the last 12th of July, not that long ago, a brief clip was made on social media and sent all around. We're only hearing about it now. And apparently it's been seen by the Belfast Telegraph, according to the telly. And it says it shows a densely packed beer garden at the Derg Arms, Castle Derg, Derg Arms, where rowdy patrons, some clearly intoxicated, sing football anthems. They sing the football anthem, Sweet Caroline, interspersed with chants of, and it says here, F asterisk, 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 3 asterisks. The Pope, asterisk, the Pope, F the Pope. No, fuck the Pope is the word you're using, actually. So it's only coming out now. The owner of the Derg Arms, a woman called Olga Walls, who is a former chairperson of Hospitality Ulster, says, we condemn this sort of behavior outright, and we were appalled when we were made aware of this short clip. What do you think, Pat? A bit of innocent fun?
I am not disputing the woman's integrity but I sometimes wonder, about these certain, and by the way, I'm definitely not like the woman's, but geez, Jude, the number of those sort of clips that have come out,
Well, what do you think about the woman?
No, I'm doing it.
I'll say it for you, Pat. I'll say it for you. If I owned the Derg Arms, and there was a bunch of guys standing on the table, actually, when they were doing it, standing on the table and singing "Fuck the Pope," I think I would have been aware of it. I wouldn't have had to wait for a.
Well, that's I don't know. Like maybe she's apologizing for the fact that the camera caught it, rather than the fact that.
Well, that's an odd thing. That's an odd thing. I'm really sorry there was a camera there.
Jude, I don't know whether she was there or wasn't there. I really genuinely don't.
No, but I'm just guessing. It seems.
But I think there's a fair attitude.
Come on, Pat. I think you're being.
There's 5 boys standing on a table at a bar on the 12th of July.
Yeah.
I would think the bar person, a lot of the crowd there, and everybody else would have seen it.
So in
other words, you can't ignore that reality.
I think so. I think so. But anyway, she says she's appalled by it now, and she really doesn't. She condemns that kind of behaviour outright. Would you condemn that kind of behaviour outright, Pat?
I certainly would. Hold on. After tomorrow morning, I was in a place, and a group of guys with Celtic jerseys or whatever got up and started to sing FUC the Queen. Jude, I would leave. I have no time for that. That's bigotry. And by the way, I'm not on because I'm a great human being or anything. I just detest that sort of crap. I really genuinely do. I have no time for that.
Honestly, I tell you something. I'm not sure that is bigotry. I think. Right. Well, it's it's like footballers. I know when they say they chant monkey stuff and so on at black players.
I hate that as well.
I hate it too. But at the same time, I honestly don't think these guys are really racist. I honestly don't think so.
You're going to have to explain that.
My thoughts are this: that these guys are passionate for their side, right?
Yeah.
And that means they're passionately opposed to the other side. So they reach for the thing they hope will hurt most the other lot. And it just happens that race is one, so they fire it right in there. So I think the same thing applies to the Derg Arms and the guy standing on the table. Guys get a few pints in, and next thing they're singing rebel songs. Or, in this case, they're singing songs, Fuck the Pope.
But hold on. Are you
Pat, let me finish. Let me finish, Pat. Let me finish.
All right. Go ahead.
Sorry, Pat. Sorry. Right. I have a gentle soul normally. But I think it's important to underline this, that these people, I actually don't think that's evidence that they are bigoted. I think it's evidence that they vulgar almost, you might say, in their recreation. Now, Pat, the floor is yours.
Well, the question I was going to ask, are you sort of suggesting and sort of in vino veritas, Or are you suggesting that, oh no, hey, they're not really big, it's just weigh a few pints on them? So go and explain that to me. When it comes out, when a few pints in, was it not in there in the first place?
Well, I don't know about that. Look, Pat, when I was young, I used to occasionally get drunk, okay? Now,
Yeah.
I wouldn't like people to judge me by my drunken state. And this idea of vino veritas, the truth coming out, I mean, I acted in ways and did things that I just disgust me when even then, when I sobered up.
Yeah.
I said, oh, geez, what an idiot I was. So you're not really revealing your true self necessarily.
No, I'm not sure. On many occasions, maybe at a wedding, I get involved and like I'm not in the least but argumentative, just you well know, Jude. And or I don't have
only
any
because I indulge you.
Yes, but my wife the next day. Do you realize what you said to him? That Jude, and I agree with you. Like we all say and do things when there are drinks on board. And by the way, I don't believe in vino veritas because, like yourself, the next day I am deeply ashamed of. I wish I hadn't said that.
Yeah. So, are we giving the good members of presumably the Orange Order or some followers of the Orange Order? Are we giving them a clean bill of health?
Well, I'm not giving, but I'm saying is somewhere along the way, it could be very decent people on many levels. Just a few drinks on board. That I accept that totally. But the only thing, Jude, I really see. I get very uncomfortable if I'm sitting beside somebody and they start to sing like something offensive, fuck the Pope or fuck the Queen or whatever that sort of. Jude, and I like it's purely personal. I don't like that sort of stuff, and I'm not a prig, and I'm not sort of. I just don't like it. I don't feel comfortable, and that's the reality for me.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't like it one bit either. It sort of disgusts me, and I would feel terribly uncomfortable if I was sitting there. I suppose I'd probably feel, to be honest, I'd probably feel more uncomfortable if they were singing "Fuck the Pope" than if they were singing "Up the Ra." Which is maybe the other side of it, or for Queen for that matter. But it's a pity it happens. But I have a feeling it's just there's a class element in it. I think sort of a working class element. I mean, you wouldn't get the middle class bigots that attend golf clubs, and there are bigots who attend golf clubs and are members of golf clubs. But they wouldn't be standing on the table shouting "Fuck the Pope."
No.
They would be doing much more subtly.
Jude, wasn't there a senior Rangers official? Was it a couple of years ago? The chairman or the vice chairman or something? I can't remember now. I need to be very careful about what said it. Wasn't there a close shop and he was caught on camera? It went on social media of him singing, sectarian songs.
Oh yes, I do. I think
there was someone vaguely around that.
Who was just incidentally, let me leave this. Who was one of the best goalkeepers for Rangers over the last 20 years?
I know the guy.
Ian something, was it?
No, he was the same era as Ali McCoist. He went to Manchester United for a year, and Roy Keane never spoke to him. But I can't remember his name. Brilliant goalkeeper, absolutely brilliant.
Well, he had some mental health problems. In fact, he
used to come over to Belfast. I think he might have been bipolar. He came over to Belfast and he associated a lot with loyalist paramilitaries.
Well, the word is, and I'm informed in good authority, that the crowd used to sing, the Celtic crowd used to sing, let's say the guy's name was John Smith, right? They used to sing, there's only two John Smiths. To John Smith. Now, see, that's deeply offensive to anybody who has any sort of respect for people. But it's hard not to laugh at the same time. It's witty.
I just did, which I'm ashamed of myself. But
it's
exactly.
Funny.
In other words,
a lot of the things we find funny, we at the same time we say, "Oh no, that's not a nice thing to do," but it is funny. It's like Les Dawson and his mother-in-law jokes. They were funny. Some of them.
And if you're sitting beside your mother-in-law, you're hoping she didn't notice you were laughing.
Yeah. Okay. Down to the last item, and this is one I know close to your heart. And you want to tell us about it? It's got to do with in the south and the English syllabus in the south, is it?
Yeah. No, Jude, I was driving up this morning. I had to be in Letterkenny for a couple of hours, and I was driving up. Norma Foley was on. She's the Minister for Education in the south, and I think it was Claire Byrne.
Cork woman.
What?
Cork woman.
A Cork woman, yes, sorry. And she, one of the questions raised was the fact that there've been, now in proportion, but anyway, there's been up more than 40 complaints about the content or the syllabus for the Leaving Cert of an English. And one of the references is to The Handmaid's Tale, which I think one of the descriptions was it's dystopian and there's a lot of sort of cruelty in it and all the rest of it. And the other one is Room by Emma Donoghue, as far as I remember. That's the story. It's based on, remember the case in, was it Belgium or Austria, where the father kept the girl in a room underneath and sexually abused her and so on. It's a sort of very dark. And now, as what do you call her? Norma Foley said this morning, there are 400,000 pupils at our secondary schools in the Republic of Ireland, and they've all got parents. So 40 people.
We're losing your sound, Pat. Your sound is gone there for.
I'm moving back probably. No, but she said on a scale of sort of 1 to 10 type thing, 40 people ain't a lot. But 40 people, Jude, when the reason I remember one of the stories by Frank O'Connor was on the Leaving Cert, which is our equivalent to your A levels, was called Yes, the Nation.
Oh, wonderful short story.
Wonderful short story. But, there's some bad language in it, and there's a sort of, the guy's going to be executed at the end of it. And I remember at the time there was some sort of controversy about that short story, but Jude, it was probably the best short story in that anthology for our Leaving Cert. So, as a former teacher, I was more interested in hearing your views than mine.
Well, I've sort of mixed views. In other words, I can never make up my mind. But anyway, let me take it back up. When I was starting teaching, I remember it was in Canada actually, and Philip Roth, great Philip Roth, who wrote
Portnoy's Complaint.
Portnoy's Complaint. He wrote a lot of other stuff as well as Dan said, Portnoy's Complaint. But he had a short story and it was a really good short story. It was about a guy who's a Jewish guy, and another Jewish guy tries to get him on the grounds that we're both Jews to do him a favor. And it's very subtly, the whole thing's done very subtly. But at one point, one of the guys says, I don't know, fuck this business, let's say. And there was uproar. Should this be on the syllabus? Now, they didn't actually print it, of course. They didn't. It was blank. There was a die. So you used your imagination as to what the word was. Everybody knew what it was. When I was there too, there was a movement to ban Catcher in the Rye being taught.
Isn't that your favorite book?
Oh, I love Catcher in the Rye. The Catcher in the Rye, love it. The other one, Huckleberry Finn, because they had this reference to Nigger Jim.
Niggers,
in all those cases, I thought that was a load of baloney, backward nonsense from people who are forever wanting to, cramp language and not have any naughty or impolite words used. I think art's better than that. It's better than that. And if it's, again, Brian Friel made this point, remember, that if you're going to say a bloody or a bad word or whatever regularly in the course of a story or a novel, it gets to lose its effect. You've got to select it carefully. But it packs a wallop when you do use it then. So as an English teacher, by and large, I had no time for censorship and that kind of thing. I also resented particularly censorship coming from, parents who you wouldn't see from one end of the year to the other. And suddenly they're all concerned about their child's education. What the hell? Their education is more than just what word appeared in the book. Okay, up to present day. Have you watched the TV version of Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's
No, Jude, I haven't. No, I haven't. No.
Why not?
But, no, one night I saw a bit of it. There was an execution scene. God, that's the next. And or they led on to the women. They were going to execute them, and it was pretty horrific. Dystopian was the right word. But Jude,
Why, did you not like it, Pat, or was it too strong meat for you, or what?
No, Jude, I must have been watching something else. Jude, sometimes I don't like to get involved in series because that means you have to watch it next week and the week after and the week after. And I know some of I've got the attention span of a gnat.
But I wonder what it was that put you off it. in the first place. All right, you're saying you don't want to get caught up.
I read a couple of horror books, and I can't remember the blind someone or other. I can't remember, and they're not sure. One of them was set in a woman's prison, and and there were punishments, there were and all that sort of stuff. She's not the blind assassin, I think that's what it was called, and so on. She's not a cheerful. Jude, I have reached a stage in my life, and I make no apologies for it. I now like books that cheer me up. I don't need to read heavy duty. In fact, I was reading one the other day, that Gathering is done. I'm not so sure I want to see when it talks about sexual abuse with children, the Holocaust, or something about American forces in Iraq or something. Dude, bugger off. Don't want to know. That get me a great story that cheers me up, and it's a a bit of a human interest. And and I'm not necessarily a happy ending of that.
Okay. All right. So that's the reason you didn't watch The Handmaid's Tale. I didn't watch it either, and for almost exactly the same reasons, Pat. Yeah. It was not on moral grounds, no. And I found it kind of an interesting idea. Although, to be honest with you, I thought what they're usually, women are totally repressed. They're only used for breeding. And they had, scenes where kind of a ceremony, like almost a religious ceremony, where they would be impregnated. And I thought they were a wee bit like, the Sun and newspapers like that, News of the World, where they would say shocking events at Vickers Tea Party. All the detail.
Jude, let me lighten the mood for you. Pete St. John wrote Dublin and the Rare Old Times. No, I love that song. It really it tells a great story. But there's one line, and it tells a story about the fella falling up. She fell in love with a guy whose skin was black. His skin was black as coal. When he took her off to Birmingham, he took away my soul. Now, apparently, St. John was on. I heard him being interviewed one night on the radio. He said certain of the politically correct brigade wanted him to change that. And like, Jude, that would alter totally the meaning, the content, the profundity of that song.
I think people who do that are vandals. People who want to change.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
And there's a terribly strong school of them. They want to squeeze out anything that doesn't match with their vision of how things should be. And maybe things should be that way now, but that's okay. We're talking about the past, and we're talking about art, and in no way people should be allowed to trample all over art. Anyway. The second story that they're objecting to was Emma Donoghue's Room. Now, I didn't see the movie, but I read the book. And just a little sort of a backstory here. Emma Donoghue is the daughter of Dennis Donoghue, who was a lecturer in UCD when I was there. And he was, we used to say he was the coolest, he lectured in English, and he was Mr. Cool. When all the other lecturers wore white shirts and, suits, he wore suits too, but his shirts very often were black, and he had a tie with him. My God, we thought he was cool, and he was big. And I remember going in. He supervised me for one of my pieces of work. I got in, and he was laid back. He was about 6'2". They're all very big. So was Emma, I gather, lying there with his feet on the table of his desk or on his desk, and back in his chair, and he was reading something like Time magazine. So he was an irreverent guy, and also his lectures used to get great attendance. So I had a soft spot for him. I read the book, and I was reluctant to do it for the same reason as you say. Jesus, do I want to hear about this woman being cooked up by some bugger? And I just sort of, but I read it, and it was very, very good. It really was very.
I've read a couple of hers, but I can't remember. There's one about a sort of a wee girl, but a sort of a miracle, and the mother keeping a wee girl alive. In actual fact, it was about starvation and sort of, but it wasn't very cheerful either. But it was a very good book and very well written.
Well, I don't think we can block books on the grounds that they're not going to be a laugh a minute. I certainly would give them that sort of latitude. On the other hand, it's pointless giving kids material that's not going to work for them. And I used to always worry a bit about Seamus Heaney in that respect, because people would say, oh, isn't it great we have a writer from our own wee country, or our own wee province, or our own wee 6 counties, and look at he writes about the bog, and look at he made the bog to be respectable and people love him, and he's a marvelous reader, was working this. All that was true. But I used to go around when my students were teaching, teacher trainees, And I was sitting in lessons, and I can tell you now, anywhere around Belfast, they were bored out of their mind by Seamus Heaney. Country stuff wasn't for them. They didn't really want it. They didn't know
what Death of a Naturalist.
That's it.
They should try, go on, Jude, try, see when he started referring to farming terms, I hadn't a clue what he was on about.
I loved it. I mean, I missed some of the farming terms, but I really liked it. But I also could see the reason why any kid brought up in a town or a city, it'd mean nothing to them, and they'd be bored out of their skull. Anyway, back again. Should this have been banned? Should a Handmaid's Tale be taken off the syllabus? Should Emma Donoghue's Room be taken off the syllabus?
No.
Emma Donoghue's Room, because I've read it, I would say no, definitely don't take it off. Of course, that means you're leaving a lot of other ones off,
Yeah.
So you may want to think about something even better than Emma Donoghue's Room. The Handmaid's Tale.
But that's not the argument, Jude. But go ahead.
What is the argument?
No, the argument is on moral grounds, not whether it's good or bad.
Okay. Well, I mean, you just said it's on moral grounds, not whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, well, that's.
I know what you mean. Is it a good, worthwhile book?
Is it a worthwhile book to read?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure The Handmaid's Tale is actually a really good book. And one of the reasons, I haven't read it, so I can't say. Yeah. But the bits I've seen on TV, for its gloominess put me off. But I always suspect books that follow a kind of politically correct route. I worry a bit about them. Now, I think.
Her book, I've read two her books. They're nothing salacious. Even the sex in them is actually very sort of muted and sort of, just straight down the middle. There's no. It's functional rather than graphic or there for no sort of titillation. Yeah. So I presume The Blind Assassin is very similar. And she's a political writer and a feminist and making a point. Yeah. Now, I think, Jude, as long as it's not sort of there for the wrong reasons, and if somebody can put an intelligent argument together, I think, and it's not gratuitously offensive or whatever, I think it's quite entitled to be on a syllabus.
I would agree with that, really. The fact of the matter is, I presume the choice of A Handmaid's Tale in the first instance was made by a group of educators who
I presume
talked about what it should be put on and so on. They come up with this.
I don't think it's a choice of one person.
That's right. And people who presumably knew what they were talking about and who had some interest in experience of literature.
Yeah.
If it goes off the syllabus, it's going to be put off by 40 people who may be even representative of the general population, although I don't think they are.
No, I don't think so.
If they were even, that's still not a reason why it should be taken off. Because you don't construct a syllabus depending on some sort of plebiscite or a referendum.
Not at all, Judy. Like, if you listen to every sort of straw in the wind, nothing would ever get published.
Yeah, that's true. But my reservations was that it was a political point in a way she's making for feminism. The women today are downtrodden, and I agree with that completely. Women get a raw deal all the time, and in the past, women have got a terrible raw deal, and she's doing this dystopian future. Where they're getting a raw deal. So maybe it works very well. But on principle, I would say, clear off, go home. We don't want to. Except if you don't like it, interest in this, a whole syllabus of your children's work, then don't come to me with your
Jude, on this note, I will leave you. There was a guy on TV, not the other night, Jesus, a couple of years ago, and there was somebody come on and said, I don't like that program. He says, do you realize, Mrs., there's a wee thing called the off button? In other words, she was basically saying it because she didn't like it, nobody else should be watching it.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's on TV and it depends on who's watching it. And there's a lot of scenes when I watched movies with my children. And to be honest with you, I was a wee bit uncomfortable because there's hardly a movie made now where, there isn't a bedroom scene. And if you've got a 14 or 15-year-old sitting beside you, you just feel a bit uneasy. So where do you stop?
Dad, what do you want me to tell you about this? Okay, well, Dr.
George Bernard Shaw said that George Orwell said the ultimate form of censorship is assassination, not as was Shaw. The ultimate form of censorship is assassination. Something to be said for that. You know?
I think that's pretty.
That was all the best. That was a very. How would we describe that? Cultured sort of a discussion we had.
Oh,
yeah.
Jude,
God,
what more can you offer the public out there, Jude?
I'm telling you. Now, I would never say pearls before swine.
There goes the two.
Might upset one of our two viewers. Okay, Pat. Thanks very much.
Bye, Jude. Bye.